if people decide that they don't want it shared later, that's fine. All right, so welcome to session number 1 of the spring, the web onboarding series for mutual aid networks, and I appreciate your being here. And the point of this series is to orient new potential participants to mutual aid networks. It's geared toward people who might be interested in piloting a mutual aid network in your area, or jumping in as a member or supporter of the effort overall. So you may or may not be connected with a local initiative, and we welcome you either way. And this will be interactive, but we'll do some presenting to give you an overview. The way today will go is we'll have introductions in a moment, and then we'll give an overview of what mutual aid networks are and what the intention is behind it. And then we'll have some discussion about how it's being applied locally and what your own goals and visions are and how it might apply to helping you realize those. And we will be done at 7 p.m. Central Time. So these are each slotted for an hour, and after we do introductions, I'll show you what the intention is for the rest of the series and give you a chance to help shape that. So, oh yes, I should have said this. My name is Stephanie Rierick, and I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm a founder and creative director of Mutual Aid Networks, and it's born out of some of the local work that I've done here. Starting and running Dane County Time Bank, in addition to some other political and cooperative economic kind of work. So I'm really excited to be at this point in mutual aid networks where we're really widening the breadth and depth of participation around the world. And I thank you for being part of that. So Julia, do you want to go next? Introduce yourself with who you are, where you are, and what brings you here, just briefly. And I think maybe Julia doesn't have audio yet, so I'm going to have Gail, introduce yourself next. Sorry if I just mispronounced your name. I always do.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Liane Gail. The pronunciation is because I'm from Germany originally. Probably you hear that, but I've been in the United States for a long time. I used to be a scientist, and I dropped out of career mode about 4 years ago, and I've been very interested in local or alternative approaches to the economy, and I've been also politically active quite a bit. I was involved in the Green Party. I'm mainly a basic income advocate right now, but we're also starting here. We're kind of trying to get a mutual aid network started here in Minnesota. We have a website, even Mutual Aid Network Minnesota, and our inaugural meeting will be on Saturday. So this is wonderful how, we have now training here to do this. I find it really not really coincidence. It's kind of, I think, way more than that. So I'm kind of really looking forward working with you, Stephanie. I know Stephanie for several years. I have been going over to Madison, Wisconsin a number of times when Stephanie has been putting on this wonderful events, and I'm looking forward to learning more about mutual aid networks and to interact with you more, Stephanie, and the others here within the network.
Great, thank you so much for joining. Manu?
Yeah.
And Julia, if you've...
Sorry.
Go ahead, thank you.
Sorry. Kia ora everybody, my name's Manu Keri. I'm in New Zealand, which is down the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, or the top, depending on which way you see the world. And I live on the east coast of the North Island, in a rural community. We're about 10 kilometres from the nearest township. That town has about 500 or 600 people in it, so really middle of nowhere, but we think it's the centre of the universe. And married into this area. My wife's from here. Her people have been occupying these lands for hundreds of years as Māori Indigenous people of this place. So we are involved in tribal development activities, She's part of a wider tribe of 70 or 80,000 people in a sub-tribe of maybe 10,000, but only a few hundred that live in the traditional lands. And the main industry here is forestry and farming. It has been for 100 years. And in the past, there's been quite a few cooperatives that were developed, small holdings and farmers. Those were amalgamated sort of 50, 60 years ago and have been struggling. So we're looking at what the alternatives are. There was a big urbanisation in the 50s and 60s of Māori moving into the cities, and so looking at opportunities to grow sustainable business and enterprise that is owned collectively. And I guess me and my interest, I've had an interest in anarchism and those principles for a few decades, and the mutual aid, we always talk about mutual aid and anarchism together, and people doing things for themselves and cooperating together outside of the traditional systems, or more recent systems, and getting back to some of those traditional relationships. And so there's some good opportunities, both for people that are living here and those that are connected here but not living here, to develop some trading, and also here a lot of people just live off the land, so hunting and fishing and growing their own food and gardens is probably half the local economy is done that way, so a fair amount of bartering still at a local level.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Great.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yes. Hi.
All right, cool. My name is Julia Ho. I am based in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm an organizer with a group called Solidarity Economy St. Louis. And so we've been running for the last couple of years, doing a whole bunch of stuff. We have a local time bank here. We're working on some restorative justice programs. We're doing some food justice work. But really, we're really interested in being a mutual aid. Well, we already are a mutual aid network pilot site, and we're really excited about building really the structure to kind of keep all the groups involved. So right now, we currently have about between 30 to 40 different groups, ranging from small businesses to cooperatives to social justice organizations and just random individuals who are part of the network. So we really want to take some of the tools from the mutual aid network and apply them to our work here so we can help everybody kind of collaborate more effectively. So yeah, I think that's all I'll say for now.
Thank you. And for everyone else on this meeting, Julia is going to help facilitate the discussion. So we will just sort of present some of the things that are happening in the framework to you, and then we'll have a discussion for the last half hour. And then Tara, you're next.
Hi, I'm Tara. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. I'm in St. Louis with Julia, so I just want to know more about how it works and what's going on, I guess.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. So, and is there anyone else who hasn't had a chance to say hello yet? We don't always see people on the list. Okay, so as I said, this is the beginning of a series that we expect to be 6 to 8 sessions. Right now it's breaking into 7 sessions, but we'll play it by ear, and we would like you to help us determine what needs to happen. So here's the plan for now. Today is an orientation to hopefully at the end of this hour, you will understand as well as you want to mutual aid networks, what they are, how they might apply to you, and you'll know where to find more information to go deeper on the parts that you want. Next week, we are going to do some communications training just about how we talk about our goals with mutual aid networks. So you could be talking with people who might be part of your core team and helping to share the vision. Vision, mission, and aim exercise and mapping a core team will be the next week. Following is facilitation training, including basics about sociocracy. I'll go into this a bit today, but one of the aspects of building a new economy that we recognize is really important is it really is going to require us to work together differently. And if we're talking about a cooperative economy, we need to rebuild our and maybe enhance our abilities to cooperate and collaborate and work together effectively. And so we've been experimenting with sociocracy, deeply inclusive governance practices. After that, understanding of tools and their applications. So we will be showing you around some of the software that we are using to manage our activities, and also go into some exchange and sharing tools. The idea is being able to evaluate what tends to work in support of what kinds of activities under what kinds of local conditions, and help each other see options that are going to be best to help us meet our own goals. The next week is robust budgeting, and we use that term to mean helping people understand the variety of resources that can be brought to bear to meet a variety of needs. So ways we can reduce our need for money by building up other kinds of supports, shared resources, and other ways to exchange with each other. And then finally, last but absolutely not least, probably most, is the Enjoyable Life Workshop. Working out how we help each other redesign our work lives to encompass the whole richness and depth and breadth of possible human activity, and how we make that into something that we have a good living while doing exactly what we want to do. So this is the vision for the series so far, and it is malleable. It's for people who want to be involved in mutual aid networks. So we would love for you to weigh in anytime if you want to help shape this. And then now I will give you all a chance to speak soon. But first I'm going to show a video that gives an overview of mutual aid networks and what we're getting at. And we made this for a crowdfunding campaign, so it ends with something about giving money, which of course you're welcome to do. But the point here is to get this across to you. And please let me know if you have any trouble hearing it or seeing it. And here we go.
Tired of doing the same old job day after day? Doing this when you'd rather be doing this? How would you like to do what you like to do? Well, now you can. Introducing Mutual Aid Networks, or the new The Man.
The new The Man values everyone in all kinds of work. Women's work, too. Here's how it works. We come together as a cooperative in a network of mutual credit, and when we need things, we turn first to sharing, making and using things like maker spaces and tool libraries, then time banking, where we exchange time credits for abundant and necessary things like care, creativity, or community work, price-based mutual credit for local business, and savings pools for when we need money and can tap into a collectively managed pool of it. Then we add in the processes to make it all work, building the skills we need to come together, identify work that needs done, and make it happen. Learning how to apply our resource sharing tools effectively to our lives and our projects. Relearning how to figure out what we really want to do with our time, and then learning how to share our money and manage it well. We connect lots of individual man projects, large and small, in a network of mutual aid. The main man. Eventually networking our networks into an economy that works for all of us. The 100%.
What would it look like if everyone were doing the work they loved, what they felt called to do? What if everyone had the opportunity to build their skills to their maximum capabilities and then apply them to making their communities whole and beautiful?
Let's find out! Join us! Launching now around the world. Give a little money to make a lot happen.
Tired?
So that is a basic overview of mutual aid networks. I'm going to talk for another minute to just make sure you have sort of the main components of it, and I'll give you a chance to ask some questions, and then we'll talk about some applications of this. But essentially, what we realized, so this mutual aid networks were born out of some questions that we were trying to answer. I started the Dane County Time Bank in 2004 as a way to really see if we could use some peer-to-peer mutual credit exchange kind of tools, time banking in particular, to really break down barriers between people, to really shift the dynamic where people are always kind of hamstrung about participating in their communities in the ways they want because they don't really have permission or a mandate or things that come with having a job or a volunteer position doing something or getting a grant to do something, and realize that with time banking we could pool our time and talents and really view that as a resource base that we could use to do projects in our communities. So we started Dane County Time Bank back in 2004 and started really seeing some interesting success, and had different limitations that I'll go into later, but really realized that time banking is really good for catalyzing exchange of things that are very abundant, like caregiving and creativity and civic engagement and community building. It's really good at valuing the kinds of work that are quite abundant and don't tend to be valued in the market economy, partly because they are abundant, because the market tends to value scarcity. But we realized that it was a really key piece there, and started to really look at how can we create a whole economy that creates and rewards abundance, but then also in service of what? We were engaged a lot in the complementary currency world, and realized that in a lot of cooperative economy world and complementary currency world, there's a lot of attention to increasing economic activity and having sort of a friendlier and more liquid economy for exchange and more exchange, but then started realizing that as an end in itself isn't quite appropriate. That what we really need to look at is how do we want to live, what would we like our communities to look like, what do we want to do in service to our planet, and how do we make an economy that supports that. So we started looking at some of the things that are currently applied to creating a friendlier, more cooperative economy, and developed a framework where we started understanding how different types of currencies or forms of exchange or forms of sharing sort of map to like a food chain, the food chain in the ecosystem. So as I mentioned, time banking is great for facilitating and rewarding work that's very abundant. We started looking at sharing and gift economies, and time banking as something like the photosynthesis level of the food chain. It's the way we take all the very vastly abundant nutrients and turn them into plants. And that up higher on the food chain are other forms of mutual credit that have a price to them. They have a dollar equivalency or a euro equivalency. And farther up, and so we started thinking of those as like the bunnies, and farther up on the food chain, you might have other kinds of currencies, and then the supranational currencies are like the wolves, the apex predators. And it's not that we don't want any wolves, but they need to occupy a much more limited space in our garden and in our local ecosystem. So we started analyzing things that way, and started looking at some of these different tools that are really commonly applied in different places with different. Sorry, I want to jump ahead here. In different places with different levels of success, and realizing that the strengths of each help to fill the limitations of others. So I'm going to go on to this particular slide. So time banking, as I mentioned, is for abundant things that we need to exchange. sharing is for abundant things or things that aren't abundant that we're just willing to share. We realize a lot of economic talk is based on an assumption of individual private ownership changing hands, and we really wanted to acknowledge and value the power of sharing and rebuilding our commons. So we realized that should be key in our economic picture. And then I already referred to price-based mutual credit as something that's more like the bunnies, but some ways that we can have some friendlier forms of exchange that also recognize that there are resources that are scarce and finite. So I'm just going to spell this out. You all might know this already, but just to be clear about what mutual credit is. Time banking is also a form of mutual credit. But it's just when people and or organizations choose to participate in a network where we're extending credit to each other. And when one person wants to receive a service and another person will perform that service for them. So say I give a piano lesson in a time bank, I would get an hour's worth of credit for an hour-long piano lesson, and that comes out of my student's account and goes right into my account. They would have a -1 and I'd have a +1. And it marks transactions, and it's fluid because I can give a piano lesson to that person and get a credit, and I can use that credit for help from anyone else in the same network. And then price-based mutual credit works in the same way, but it would have a dollar amount or some other basis of equivalency to a form of value. So it could be worth a quart of oil, or it could be worth several dollars, or whatever we decide it's going to be worth. But in our system, it would be taxable. It would be something that would be used by businesses and in very professional services, and a way that we can have some more liquidity for local exchange, but also recognize that we do need to pay taxes on some exchanges, and recognize that there are reasons for some things to be priced higher than others, and that there are finite resources that we're exchanging. And then finally, the fourth sort of tool that we have really focused on is community saving, lending, and investment. So something akin to mutual aid societies, or community savings pools, or giving circles, or lending circles, or rent parties, or working men's clubs, or tongos. There's lots and lots of different forms of this. And essentially, it's a community of people choosing to pool their money, save it together, and thereby have larger quantities that can be loaned out to an individual member when they need it, at no interest or at low interest, or it can be made available to people through grants or compensation for work. So what we saw is all these different sort of levels of the food chain of different kinds of economic tools all kind of meet the strengths of one match the limitations of the other. And if we pulled them together into an ecosystem, we could really do something. And then we added in social processes for helping people use these tools effectively. So work redesign assistance, helping create processes that give people more clarity on what you want to do with your time, how you might be able to be compensated or supported by your community in spending your time in the ways that you want to spend it. And then robust budgeting, which we simply mean making a budget that brings all of the possible resources to bear into the budget picture to give people a sense of security and understanding of how you can really meet your needs with these other forms of support, like time banking, like shared resources, other kinds of mutual credit. Project facilitation assistance, really helping create a lot of technical assistance, games, human support for people, so a group of people can know how to come together, identify their goals, identify the work that needs to happen to meet their goals, and carry it out. And community investment assistance about how we pool money and allocate it, possibly to some of the people who are facilitating and carrying out projects. So this the outer circle that holds all these gears is a mutual aid network, and it's a type of cooperative. So we just realized that we need to create a new kind of institution that supports these activities effectively. And what we came to is that by becoming legally a cooperative, you and your partners come together around a common goal. You have common ownership of the project. It's official and legal, one member, one vote, democratic member participation, democratic economic control and participation. You come together around a common goal and you steward these things in service of that goal. And that's what the mutual aid network is. So I will stop there for a moment. There's definitely more to share with you, and I'm going a little longer than I meant to on this part. I want to give you all a chance to ask questions or, ask questions or say if there's a priority for what you learn in the next 5 minutes before we start our discussion. So any questions? All right.
I was thinking about credit unions. Do they fit in there in the savings and
Yes,
sharing?
absolutely. So we are aiming to partner with local credit unions here and manage our savings pools with them. We'll open our first savings pool accounts at a local credit union. And and whether or not we partner with them, that's something that seems like a very easy way to start. I think some mutual aid networks will sort of create their own financial institution, like a community development financial institution, but I really see it as an easy and natural fit to just open your shared account with a credit union. And then we have a local one that has invested a little bit of money and some interest into this model. So we actually are pursuing some partnerships with credit unions here and elsewhere, so they can help us evaluate the model and possibly help promote it too. Anything else on the credit union question, or do you want to make any comments about it?
Just one observation. My experience, our local one's quite keen on giving the money away rather than putting your savings in there, because that's how they make their money to survive. So there's that tension, I guess. They're looking to lend the money out, which is helpful for getting stuff going, hopefully. But it can be less attractive to them to be the holder of a lot of savings that they're expected to pay interest on or something, and maybe they need to rethink that sort of stuff, that maybe the interest isn't so important to them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And something that we will be pulling together some meetings that are specifically for credit union officials who are interested in this. We have some really good interest, and so you'd be more than welcome to participate and invite people.
Cool.
Any other questions or comments about what we do? The next thing that I'll be doing is I'm giving some examples of pilot sites on how they're applying this to try to make it more concrete for you. But feel free to ask questions in the meantime. Okay. So, what we are doing, you saw this in the video a little bit. Our strategy is, we believe, sorry, I'm kind of flipping through slides randomly because it's, they're not in the order that I ended up talking about things. So our strategy is to have different local pilot sites that are operating under different local conditions with different strengths and limitations. And what we had wanted to do was start with at least 6. And we actually have 8, so that's wonderful. And these are where they are. And each pilot site, well, almost all the pilot sites are rooted in a local initiative that has a fair amount of success already and needs to add a layer of complexity in order to move farther toward their goals or our goals. So each of those local initiatives has become an official pilot site, and Julia's going to share some about hers, and I'll share some about one of ours. And then the idea is then we're all linked in one big network called the Main Man, which is the big mutual aid network. It's incorporated here in Wisconsin, where we have excellent cooperative law, but it's incorporated, the intention is to have global membership. So organizations and individuals can be members of the Main Man, and it's one big mutual aid network, and the plan is that we use the same tools and philosophies that we are espousing out in the world to make our own systems grow and be self-sustaining and really take off, and to sort of really unleash the collective intelligence on creating a real solidarity economy. And if you look at how these things, so, these are all the little networks that then get networked, we do really literally have a goal that in the not too distant future, every single human on the planet could be part of a project that is identified with a mutual aid network in a way that they could be linked with every other person on the planet. And the really explicit goal is that we have a real solidarity economy, that we have a new kind of cooperative model that could never create an incentive for you to outsource for cheap labor to another place. Does not happen in mutual aid networks. It's not in the core values, and it's not in the vision. You wouldn't outsource for cheap labor in the Philippines. Instead, you would do a skill share and perhaps learn from the people in the Philippines how they do some of the textile work that you need, or you would have them do it and you would compensate them really well with mutual aid network kinds of tools, and you would support them to meet their actual needs. So that's the vision, and we just feel like there's no point aiming for anything less. The point of this is to create a really inclusive economy and really change the situation so the economy serves humanity and the planet rather than the other way around. So that's the strategy. We have our 8 pilot sites, and we're welcoming new pilot sites to explore. And I'll just very quickly say how one of the ideas emerged, and then I'm going to turn it over to Julia, just because I think it's helpful. So here, I've been working in the Dane County Time Bank since 2004, and in 2005 or 6, I started working in a neighborhood in Madison called Allied Drive that is one of these American neighborhoods that's very typical, where they just put a giant highway kind of down the middle of the neighborhood and start to isolate it geographically from the rest of the city. And then this neighborhood has become a mostly Black and Latino neighborhood, mostly low income. There's no school. All the 4,000 households, the kids go to 5 different schools that are outside of the neighborhood. There's no grocery store. It's difficult to get into the central city by bus. So all these very typical American neighborhood problems. So we started doing time banking there several years ago, and then we were invited to become part of the formation of the Allied Community Co-op, and that's the first mutual aid network on the ground. So we organized around an energy project, and we had a utility, someone from our local utility really saw potential in the neighborhood to do something really cool. And so what we did was the utility company trained some people to go door to door and do energy consultations. And we had a vision that changed over time, but so they did the first round of energy consultations. The utility company monitored the energy consumption after, and all of the households saved energy at a rate of 10%. So from there, we developed a vision that we would start go door to door, invite everyone to join the co-op and the time bank, and offer an energy consultation. And then as people started saving energy, we were going to start having like an award and incentive program for people to invest some of their energy savings into a community savings pool. And then they were going to use that to get a van to take people on food shopping outings because there's no grocery store. In the meantime, the last food outlet in the neighborhood closed, so we've shifted gears. We're not doing the energy project anymore. We're now working on creating a co-op grocery store and buying club. So we're still doing a lot of really interesting mutual aid network kind of work. I want to mention the energy project because I think it's a really good example of using time banking where we paid time bank hours to develop people's skills doing the energy consultation and then to go out and invite more participation and offer the energy consultation. And then when people saved money and started pooling it, it was totally homegrown money. So we used time banking to grow some money that's harder to get and took that money out of what people would be paying for fossil fuel energy and could put it into the neighborhood. So it's just an example of how these things can work together. So Julia, do you want to share about your pilot site and then start asking some of the questions that you'd wanted to ask? And I'm sorry I've talked so long.
No, sure. Yeah, I can just talk a little bit about the pilot site and kind of specifically how I got involved in this work, kind of a different path, but really ending up in the same place. So I originally moved to St. Louis about 5 years ago, and I'm from Texas. And my first interaction with any sort of solidarity economic stuff was really starting a free store on my campus. And so for me, it was, I really wasn't aware of a lot of different social justice issues happening, but it was a way for me to kind of reduce waste on campus. We collected items at the end of the year that students were getting rid of, sold at the beginning of the year, and then we'd use that money to pay rent on a storefront where everything was free. And, for me, what was really eye-opening about that experience was that it was the free store that we created was a place that we were really building community and that people were, regardless of income or race or whatever, were coming into the store. And so it was a place where workers and students and community members and faculty were all coming because everybody wanted free things and everybody wanted really agreed with the mission. Around that time, I started learning about time banking and gotten connected to different sort of bartering networks around St. Louis. And then really started connecting all these different problems to sort of larger issues in our city, and particularly fighting, for us, a huge problem in St. Louis is corporate power. And so we have Monsanto here, we have Peabody Coal, which is like one of the largest private coal corporations in the world, headquartered here. And so I got involved in that sort of effort to really fight against these corporations that were stealing money from our local economy, and also doing horrible things to the planet and displacing tens of thousands of, native people from their land. And so that was really eye-opening for me. That was my first time really getting arrested, getting involved in direct action, learning about community organizing. And then in that whole process, just a couple of months after I started working as a community organizer, the Ferguson uprising happened. So Mike Brown was killed in Ferguson, which is just 10 minutes away from St. Louis, up in our county. And so that really sparked the whole region, and it really brought about just a totally different kind of consciousness and awareness around racial justice and racial injustice in St. Louis. St. Louis is like one of the most segregated cities in the country, and that reflects very clearly in every single life outcome, in your education, in your health. And so for us, we really jumped into that movement and did a lot of work to keep people out of jail. And so we were like raising money to bail people out of jail, and then also doing a lot of direct action, pushing on politicians and lawmakers to abolish particularly the municipal court system. And so this was another instance where we were using time banking, an alternative economic system, to try and replace some of the monetized systems that existed in our courts. And so I won't go into sort of all of that, but there was like a whole, one of the biggest issues coming out of Ferguson was that people and these, our politicians here and the municipalities here were generating huge sums of money just by racially profiling people, giving them tickets, and that would spiral out of control and send them to jail essentially for not having enough money to pay these tickets. And so we were really fighting against that system and using things like time banking as a way to sort of lift up some alternatives to the system. And so where we are now is that, we're almost 2 years after the Ferguson uprising, after Mike Brown, and there's just so much, I'm seeing so much creative energy here in terms of people really thinking about how do we fight these oppressive systems and how do we build the new systems that we want. And so now there's this just really creative burst of housing cooperatives and worker cooperatives and just people thinking about how to counteract these issues by building the things that meet our needs, because our current economy here really does not meet our needs and is actively violent against so many people. So for me, it's really exciting to sort of be part of that and to be somebody who's connecting all these different issues. And I think Stephanie's example is a great one, is that we don't need groups that are just fighting one campaign or one issue that are sort of reacting whenever horrible things happen in the community. We need to be building structures that are resilient and that can help us adapt to the crazy things that are happening around us, whatever the sort of current crisis may be, and go further than that and be proactive about how we're shaping our communities to meet our needs and not be dependent on all of these kind of larger systems. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of the work, not really the work that we're doing now, and I can go into that if people want me to later, but just sort of the arc of where I am and sort of where St. Louis is right now in terms of building up cooperative economic practices.
Thanks. Did you want to ask, we just have 15 minutes, if you want to pick the most sort of salient question for the group that'll help us frame it for next time, that'd be great.
Well, one thing I really want to know is just sort of how, first of all, just like how people ended up on this call. I mean, I know Tara, because she's doing work here in St. Louis with us, but for the other folks on the call, how did you get interested in the mutual aid network, and sort of what is it that brings you into this call? Did you see Stephanie present somewhere, or how does it relate to what you're doing? So I'd love to hear that.
Liana, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I met Stephanie, when was that? The Economic Democracy conference, when was that? Like 4 years or 5 years ago?
I'm not sure. Yeah, a few years.
That is when I kind of, I was already like exploring alternative economic approaches, and I was exploring time banks, and I think you were giving a workshop on time banks.
Yes.
And then in addition, you had mentioned that you had invited Charles Eisenstein to Madison, Wisconsin. I think then I came, that was the second time I came to Madison. It was around sacred economics. And then what else? And you had Bernard Litter you had around, so I came another time. And then you had a whole 2 weeks or 10 days of mutual aid network workshops. When was that? It was like last fall. So I think in years I've been following what Stephanie has been doing for quite a while. And,
okay, awesome.
And then here
can
in
you talk
Minnesota,
a little bit more, about what you're doing?
Yeah, in Minnesota there's nothing really going on. We have a small time bank which has been in existence for like 10, 15 years, but they're just kind of staying at 200 members, and they are not able to penetrate the community. Their leadership structure is not very open, so the same people have been in charge like forever. They don't have really bylaws or anything. So I was a member there, but I have not been really getting involved. As I said, I'm a basic income advocate right now. Since about, I mean, I'm doing that really nearly full time. I'm doing substitute teaching on the side, but I mean, for me, it's more important to be an activist. I have a local group here, Basic Income Guarantee Minnesota, Big MN, and then I also started with Ann Withern from Boston. I started the Basic Income Women Action Group, and that's an international group around basic income. But I still have a lot of interest in local economy. So we have a very interesting person in our group, Albert Wright, and during our basic income meeting, he's only talking about local economy and complementary currency. So a month ago, I kind of said, okay, we need to kind of split up this group and do a local economy group and then the basic income group. And so we kind of started, it's just on Facebook right now, like Mutual Aid Network Minnesota. So we haven't really started yet. We have an idea, and what we're really interested in is trying to combine the idea of a basic income together with complementary currency and bring that into mutual aid networks so that we are not dependent just on time bank, whatever currency or dollar money, but have another tool to our disposal, which actually, puts already, the oil in the machine, and we can hope that this is the basic income. So we have a meeting on Saturday, basically just to discuss ideas, what we want to do. So we are very, very fresh, and it's just, I think it's way more a coincidence that Stephanie that you just kind of started this series, so we can grow with the series here. So we are just a very few people, and it's right now in our heads. But I mean, we also have in the Twin Cities here, there's a lot of people who are just not making it anymore. With a few jobs that are around, a lot of my friends have part-time jobs and are just not able to make a living, anymore. So we need to really find some alternatives, of kind of doing business with each other. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Great. We can definitely
Does anybody else?
with the basic income formulation. And I just want to add one more question when we're going around and having you answer Julia's question, which is, do you think, so for the next 2 sessions, we want to do communications training and vision, mission, aim exercise at one or the other. And we have them scheduled in that order. But if you think it would be helpful to do an exercise next week, where we just go through vision, mission, aim to help you distill your vision, let us know if you think that should come first.
Yeah, I'm not around next Thursday. I will be going to Winnipeg. There's the 15th annual North American Basic Income Guarantee Congress in Winnipeg. So I will be there. That will be actually very, I mean, if you guys are interested in basic income, but in Canada, there's a lot of movement from all kinds of governments, local government, province government, and national government, a lot of interest in basic income. So it should be a very, very interesting meeting up there. So I hope I get a lot of new information from there.
Manu?
But I will not be around for next week. But I think otherwise I will be able to make all other times.
Good, thank you. Manu, do you want to go next?
Yeah, does anybody want?
Sorry, me? Yeah, I guess I'm sort of lurking and just checking it out and seeing what it's all about and whether there's aspects that I could apply here, and just thinking of this community that I was living in for the last 20 years, that there's still some good things happening there, and I'll encourage them to listen to the recording, and hopefully there may be some that are interested in tuning in next week. And I found out about it through just a random guy in our community who contacted me. He was doing a sustainable agriculture course locally, and I don't know, shared common ideas, and he put me onto the website, I think, and then I was on the mailing list and got the notice, so signed in. And yeah, I was involved in the Transition Towns movement about 5 or 6 years ago locally. That evolved. One of the things that came out of that was I was supported to become an elected representative on our regional council through a number of people involved with it, and pushed sort of a lot of these issues there. And in New Zealand, I was just thinking on the basic income stuff that it's got a bit of traction locally as well. And one of the largest philanthropists in New Zealand is backing a universal basic income, and so it's getting a bit of political traction as well. And at a local level, I guess, yeah, just looking at the the opportunities to continue growing alternatives to the established way of doing business, and trying to work out what a truly sustainable enterprise ecology might look like. That means we can keep doing the same things we're doing now in 100 or 1,000 years. Means we're going to need to do business quite differently. So we're looking at ways of, we had single mothers in our community who say, there's lots of big regional development, economic development plans that come and go, but we don't get to participate in the initiatives that those things produce. How can we get a slice of the pie or be part of any of this new economic activity that you guys are organising? So we've been looking at bioactives and using local native plants for extracts that can be used in horticulture and human and animal health as sort of developing products. And so if we're going to do that, how do we do it in a way that's as inclusive as possible, so that the threshold for entry into the company or the trust or whatever it is that's holding it is as low as possible, but can also be attractive to external investors if we need to get capital or need some money to build a plant or something. How do we do that? And balancing those tensions. So that's kind of some of the stuff we're wrestling with at a local level. And I like I've been involved in the complementary currency at a local level and didn't really get into it, but I can see how what you're talking about, having time banks and savings pools and all that kind of stuff as a whole ecosystem, rather than just, I guess, in our experience here, people have done one or the other at different times, rather than seeing them all working together at the same time. So I guess that's something I'll take back to some of our community members too, and encourage them to have a look at the presentation today and maybe tune in the future.
Great, thank you. And at more than one, at several of the future sessions, we'll really be able to spend a little time talking about what people want to do locally and how this could apply. Already a number of the things that you're talking about, we've worked through some questions about how we use these tools to help facilitate. Thank you, that's great. Tara, did you want to go next? And you are on mute from your end. And while we're waiting for Tara, we have 3 minutes. So I am wondering if anyone feels like, I do feel like it could go either. Oh, here's Tara. Do you want to share your thoughts about your own local goals or what your motivations are?
I don't know that I really have anything in particular at this point. I just I want to know how I can be supportive and just kind of I want to keep up on what's going on so I can find the ways that will work for me to plug in, I guess.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So next week we will just do the communications training as we had planned, and that will help ground everyone in sort of how we get across some of the potential that we see in this, and that will help us find our core teams, or if we have our core teams, just talk with our friends and neighbors about it. And then after that, we'll move into the vision, mission, and aim exercise, and that will be about you and each of your projects and what you want to accomplish and how to evaluate, how to create the picture of vision, mission, and aim in a way that invites people in, but also remains true to your own core values and the core values of what we're working to do. And then I want to just share with you ways to get involved. Probably most of you are on our email list, which is why you're here. But if not, you can go to mutualaidnetwork.org and sign up on the MailChimp list there, and that's how we let people know about this stuff. You can join the main man. Everything that we have right now is in a really rough draft form, including our website, which you could probably notice, the software we're using. So we have all the pieces we need. And now we are the crew team who are shaping those things to better suit our needs. So you're welcome to jump in at this early stage and help shape our software tools and be a member and start playing with this as we're just getting it started. Or you can wait, but we would more than welcome you to join the main man. There's a membership dues, and you sign on to the rights and responsibilities of membership. It is a cooperative, and we'd love to have you. And again, you do that at mutualaidnetwork.org. I will send you a link to the recording of this session, and I will also post it online. So it'll come out with the next MailChimp email that announces the next session, and then I'll have shared this online. If you would like to start a man pilot, we would love to have you, and we will help you with evaluating if that feels right for your community, and assist you in whatever way we can in developing that in your local area. And we'll ask you to spread the word to other people. As we mentioned, we want this to be a global network. You're more than welcome to give money. That's something that we're looking for right now. You can also join a working group to help shape the whole system. So all of those things you can find at our website. And it's time to close out. I really appreciate your having joined us today. We really like to do quick checkouts for every meeting that we have, so we'll do a quick checkout. But since it's 7 on the dot, if you have to leave, you're welcome to. And otherwise, everyone who's stay on, if you just want to say a couple words about what you got out of this or what you would like to get out of it in the future, please do. And you're welcome to say pass and just say goodbye. So, Julia, do you want to start the checkout?
Yeah, I can start. Thank you everybody for being on the call. I'm really excited to see how this shapes up. I wasn't part of the last web series, so I think it's good that there's always an opportunity for new people to be getting involved. I'm really excited about kind of getting an international perspective on lots of things. I think there aren't too many things that I'm part of that we get to interact regularly with folks who are in other parts of the world. So I really appreciate that opportunity.
Thanks. Liana?
Yeah, I find it a very exciting possibility for the Twin Cities. I'm really looking forward to becoming a part of this, and I'm really hoping that we can pull it off here in the Twin City and in Minnesota. I'm kind of a little bit not worried, but I mean it will be kind of a big thing to set up. So yeah, I will be looking to you guys for help and assistance.
Lovely.
Get this off the ground here.
That's what we're all about, mutual aid. Thank you. I'm really excited that you want to try. Manu?
Yeah, I was just going to say too, it's great that you're providing this mutual aid in the interest of mutual aid building. And we'll encourage others that I think may be interested to check out the link and listen to this recording, and if they're interested, sign in next week, hopefully, because it's just, I can't think of anything locally in New Zealand that provides this sort of support and advice, and particularly from people that are already doing it. So it's a great opportunity. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tara?
Yeah, thank you so much for leading it, and thanks everybody for your ideas and introductions to what you guys are doing. And I guess I'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you next week. And again, huge appreciation for your joining and for being interested in wanting a vision like this to come to fruition. So thanks very much, and have a great evening or whatever time of day it is for you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, bye.
Bye.